a story dropped on foxfooty.com.au by Will Faulkner, who said Adelaide is very much in the race for Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera as the most in-demand player in the country. Now, up until now, certainly the reporting has suggested that Port Adelaide was in the box seat, but Adelaide still very confident. But you just wonder if this deal is going to be done, wouldn't the wheels and the cogs be turning on it already? So if just say Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera says in 2 weeks' time, I want to go to Adelaide, will St Kilda say, well, we'll have Jake Soligo or Worrell or Rochelle? That's going to be the calibre of the sort of the trade. But then when you speak to these people around these players and their managers, they're none the wiser. So I don't know, if I'm St Kilda still at this stage, I would still be having some level of confidence, because if this blockbuster trade is going to go down, it is going to take some time, but the mechanics aren't moving. The pieces aren't moving on any of these trades, which I would suggest potentially would indicate that maybe he's taking his time Dustin Martin style, Joey, and might still land at Moorabbin. What's your read on this?
Yeah,
St Kilda would want players in return.
You would think if there was going to be movement that there would be starting to be conversations between the clubs and the management about what it might look like, how it can get done. That's why I still think St Kilda's fans should be still very confident and very optimistic that he'll be at St Kilda next year. I think there are people at the club that still believe he will be there next year, and that's the way I'm feeling. I'm very confident that he will be at St Kilda.
What's the hurry? Why do you feel there's a pending need?
Well, because
to get it done?
If the deal is going to be done for Bergman or Soligo, you can't drop them on this. History shows that these deals, whether it's Bailey Smith to Geelong, they're a year out. They're done 6 months out.
But this has been the best kept secret in footy. I think this is an amazing job done by Nasiah himself and his management to just say, hey, we're not talking about it. We're not spreading any rumours. We're not telling a couple of mates on the side this is happening. We're just keeping it mum. And I think it's given them real strength. Absolute bargaining power's gone through the roof because they haven't told anyone anything. This has been kept quieter than the Buddy Franklin move.
Yep.
And I think it's going to work for them. I don't think they're in any need to do anything.
You still got to get a deal done. What do you think a deal would look like?
I don't know, but when they say he's out, he's going, he's leaving, generally they find a way to satisfy.
He's one of the best players in the competition.
I know, but how many fall through? How many fall through? Who was the last one that fell through?
Luke Ball, right to the draft.
Well, it's a lot.
Jack Martin. Jack Martin did. So that was there was some hardball play between.
What about this level of player though? Like this guy's a top liner. Like the Patrick Dangerfield moves, with those sorts of moves we're talking about. I think once the realisation that he's gone happens, then it's just about satisfying all parties. They'll get there.
If you're St Kilda, what would you be wanting?
The world. It's a migraine.
That's the difficult part. And if it doesn't get done, it would be they lost Josh Battle, to lose Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera as well, and potentially Marcus Windhager, then the list management team would start to come under some pressure, would it not?
Yep.
So you're saying Soligo on the first round pick, is that what you're saying?
It would have to be.
Yeah.
It would of that calibre. But Soligo doesn't know anything about it. No,
but that level of player...
It would have to be.
You'd do that tomorrow. You'd do that tomorrow if you're Adelaide.
If you're Adelaide.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that depends if he wants to go. Righto, speaking of, Kingy, this is your first crack.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Rundle Maulers, the back six of the Adelaide Crows. I'm in love with what they're doing behind the ball. It's we say they're no name, but I think we're all getting a handle now on what they've got, and it's quite special behind the ball. It's team first at all times. It's minimum fuss. It's honest. It's tough, and it's the best back six in the competition by a long way. By a long way. They work for each other so well. They're the number one team at intercepting the ball, 71 a week. And these guys, in terms of intercepts, you can see there, Keane and Worrell, numbers 1 and 2 in the competition throughout that period. And I don't think most people would recognise Keane as that player. But he's been so reliable, just old-fashioned, stand next to a man and cold beat them. And a lot of it is at ground level. And I'm just... When you're building a list, Joey, sometimes you need to be able to pinch a couple from other clubs or, just left of centre, left field. You've got to find a left fielder. We know that he was on Collingwood's list for 4 years. He played 5 games in 4 years and then basically retired. He moved on from Collingwood. I know Collingwood wanted him back, and this is why. Yeah. Well, I mean, imagine him in the black and white stripes at the moment. He'd be first picked in their back line at the minute. And Worrell's just been a sensation. Picked 28 back in 2019. So... to find these guys and find a home for them and get them playing great football. I know we talk about their stars forward of the ball and what they can do, but when you can handpick a couple of players like this, and I know we're going to talk about Nasiah later on, and they've got these guys right. They've got the ability to attract Isaac Rankin, the ability to get Dawson from Sydney to the club. I'll tell you what. if they do get Nasiah and they do win the flag this year, they'll knight their recruiting department and their talent acquisition department. They'll have the sword going on both shoulders because it's been unbelievable what they've built.
That's how you build a premiership list, though. It's not you got to get your stars, but then you've also got to get these bargain picks or players from other clubs that maybe weren't as valued and turning them into really solid elite AFL players. And that's what the Adelaide Crows, it looks like, are building with this list.
So they were able to cope with high volume the other night. I know it was a basic straight line entry because of the conditions.
71 inside 50s.
Yeah, you just don't see many teams being able to withstand that sort of onslaught. So I think we've just got to start to value these guys differently.
And the old adage, premiership, defence wins premiership, Kingy,
Yep.
then they are certainly well placed at the top of the ladder. It's a brilliant game, Joey, on Saturday night. As we said, that back line was under siege back there. What did you make of the match and the Crows in particular, some of their ball movement?
Yeah, well, there is still a little chink in Adelaide's armour. For as much as they are doing right, this is one phase of the game that they need to sort out come September, because at the moment, they, in the last 4 weeks, are 18th in the competition and by a fair margin, moving the ball from their defensive 50 to inside 50. And it is something that all the premiers over the last 10 years have been really strong at. They've all been top 6. But Adelaide, at the moment, are not getting it done. In fact, it's not just at the moment. It's across the whole season. They are 17th in the competition at being able to transition the ball from defensive 50 to inside 50. It's probably why in this game they had 71 entries against them, because they couldn't get it down their end of the field. They kept coming back, and you've spoken a lot about Air Adelaide, Kingy, and their ability to contest mark in the middle of the ground. I wonder if they're a bit reliant on that. They almost need some contested marks to be able to transition the ball, because your vulnerabilities get exposed in September, and this is a vulnerability for the Adelaide. It would surprise people. Everyone just thinks Adelaide has this really good ball movement style of play, but they actually don't. It's an area that they need to fix up on. It was obvious in the first half of this game on the weekend, and just something to keep an eye on going into finals, because in the last 4 weeks they've had 158 opportunities, Kingy, to move the ball from D50 to inside 50. They've done it 17 times out of 158 opportunities. To give you some context, the Giants did it 14 times alone on the weekend against the Gold Coast Suns, so it is a concern.
Who's the knock-on? Who's been turning it over?
The whole team. They're all of them. They actually are struggling to get the ball from one end of the field to the other. It would surprise people, but just keep an eye on it over the next couple of weeks.
But against top 9 teams in the last 6 weeks, they're 4-0.
They can defend really well. They are defending, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
The defence, and they have to defend really well.
But I think that's where their eggs are in that basket. Maybe they don't have the most skillful back six. Maybe it is nuts and bolts. But they're able to stand up. And maybe they're causing some pressure on themselves.
They're going to have to defend their backsides off,
They are going to have to. And at home, I think they can do that.
Yep.
On the roads where you come under real challenge.
What we're going to see is the opposition go to school on that. They'll be aware of that. So you might see that frontal pressure trying to turn the ball over, and the opposition getting some reward for it. What about, speaking of reward, what about the Pies and their polish, Joey?
Well, just again, they've lost another close game. So the team that were the kings of close finishes have now lost 4 of their last 5 games decided by a kick or less. And it's interesting when you just take a look at that last term, they always found a way to win in previous seasons. But is it luck of the draw? Maybe there is a bit more luck to it. But there are some things they just didn't get right. And we've all seen this goal now. But the way that they just didn't get organised at this last stoppage, to have 3 Adelaide players free inside your defensive 50 is a cardinal sin. That was costly. A couple of their ball movement situations where in previous years, Kingy, they'd all be on the same page and they'd throw it in the corridor. Just wasn't quite in sync. And I just think they've got so many things they've been working on. They just haven't been able to close out these close games. So it's going to come back potentially again to bite them on the backside.
The effort was high. Craig McRae was happy with that part, the intensity and pressure around the ball, but weren't able to get the value from those forward entries.
What's missing with them? What's the gap in their game at the moment? Because
it's connection, isn't it?
If they're not to win it this year, you're going to have low confidence going into next year with another year older. These guys, we've talked about their list is
there's
ageing.
There's upside in Hill in having a full year. There's upside in Houston, who
Every
possibly
team's
hasn't.
got upside in those sorts of
That's
players.
true. That's true.
So I think that this is a team that has to gather and go in this next 5 weeks, and we're all probably going to be all doom and gloom on Collingwood, but they've got an opportunity. They're still in the fight, Joey. As you said at the start, they're still in the fight. But this is going to be their best chance for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
There's nothing surer than that.
Yep. They need an improved performance the next week heading into September. They take on Melbourne.